you? Okay, we are on Kuf A, which is 105b. And the Gemara talked about somebody doing something destructive as a form of work on Shabbos, and that it would not count as malacha. And the Gemara said that somebody breaks something in anger that calms them down, and so that could be seen as a constructive thing. And the Gemara said that anybody that breaks something in anger, they should know that they're heading down a path of destructiveness to the degree that they could end up doing idolatry. Gemara says, however, there is a constructive way of doing something in anger where you're actually controlled and you're showing an anger, but not actually acting out of a lack of control of self, but rather showing anger in order to create an environment where people recognize that what was done, what happened was inappropriate, and the show of anger is a demonstration of that so parents sometimes will do that where they show an angry face at a child or upset to discipline them, to let the child know that they're disapproving of something that's going on. Sometimes a teacher may do that. Sometimes even colleagues can do that to show, look, I don't want to approve of what's going on, and so you do that. The Gemara now is going to go into various cases where people, chachamim, did things that showed an anger, but really were not as destructive as it looked, but they did so in order to create a fear, as it were, or to set someone straight and when they were out of line. Most of these cases seem nowadays to be inappropriate in and of themselves, but the Gemara is saying it in a context of where the person was trying to do something good. The Gemara in Kiddushin deals with the aspect of that there's waste, and you're not allowed to create waste. Baltashkas, you're not allowed to destroy something that's good for no reason. The Gemara says that they were done in a manner that isn't wasteful. In any case, I'm not sure in some of these cases how that worked. But in any case, the Gemara says, Kihad Rav Yehuda, like Rav Yehuda, Shalif Matzvayasa, he tore a garment on a seam, but did so to show frustration so that people were in line. Rav Yaakov Tovar Man Tviri, he broke a vessel. It seems like he broke a vessel that was already broken, but he showed, but it was a show of anger. Rav Sheshes Ramila La'amse Munina Aresha, where Rav Sheshes put a fish on his, or fish sauce on his maidservant's head. I'm not sure if that means in a bowl, but put it on her head sort of to balance it there, or poured it on. I'm not sure from the text. Rabbi Abba Tovar Nachtama, he broke a cover of a jug. Rav Shimon Pazi and Rav Shimon Levi Mishum Bakapara. So the Gemara in the previous Gemara dealt with somebody who is obligated to tear their garments on Shabbos. To tear the garments for somebody who passed away, and if he did so on Shabbos, it's considered constructive. And one of the people mentioned that somebody has to tear the garment for is for an adam kosher, for an upright person, where everybody should really be bemoaning the loss of that person. So the Gemara says in the name of Bakapara, anybody that cries, lets tears drop over the loss, the death of an upright person, so then Hashem counts those tears and puts them into his storage house. Shanemafer says in the pasuk, "Nodi my jug," really. So this is my jug is full. Nodi safarta ata. You counted my node, my jug. Sima dim asi benodecha, and you place my tears in your jug. Hala b'sifrasecha, is it not in your counting? Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Rav comes somebody who is lazy in describing the greatness of a chacham in eulogizing them. It is worthy that his life not continue, that he be buried. Shenema, it says, and they buried him in at the edge of his property in Timnas Sarach, in this place. But the meaning, the drash here is that it had gone sour. Asher Bahar Ephraim, it's Fon Lahar Gash, for the north of Mount Gash in the mountains of Ephraim. So from there we see that the mountain, it's Har Gash, a mountain that's a volcano, the volcanic mountain, because the mountain was upset at them and sort of was erupting at them on account of their not eulogizing Yehoshua properly. I'm Rabbi Tzvi Fischer, Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Tzvi Fischer said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, anybody who is lazy, meaning it does not do the proper honor to the deceased when a chacham passed away, to eulogize them properly, does not have long life. Mida keneged mida, it's a measure for a measure. He doesn't value the life of such a great person, so his life also won't be that great. Shenema, for it says, "B'sasa b'shalchat rivena." Ama Esave Rabbi Tzvi Fischer, Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Tzvi Fischer challenged Rabbi Yochanan v'yavdu ha'ames Hashem kol yimei Yoshua v'chol yimei azkenim asher yichyu yom v'achri Yeshua. It says that the people followed and served Hashem all the days of Yeshua and the days of the Chachamim after it. Yes, they had long days, but they didn't have long life. So what does that mean, that they didn't have long years, but they had long days? So Rashi brings the pasuk. The pasuk says, "Orach yomim ushnos chayim," long days and years of life. So are the years that are not life? Or so it says yes. When people have tumultuous years, those don't count. Yes, so they lived long, but the life was tumultuous, so it doesn't count as long life. Thank you. If somebody, if a brother in a household dies, they should all be concerned. That's something that needs to concern everyone. We are now on 106a, Kuf Vav Amud Aleph. If somebody in the Chabura, in the group, in a group that study together, in a group that do mitzvahs together, if one of them pass away, Tidak Kol Chabura, the entire Chabura, the entire group needs to be concerned. Amri La Demeis Gadol. Some say it's only if the greatest of the group passes. Amri La Demeis Katan. Some say if the smallest of the group passes. The Mishnah, the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that anybody that does any of the malachas of Shabbos destructively, not constructively, that does not count as a Torah transgression where they need to bring a chatas offering, even though they're not allowed to do it. It would not be a chatas. So Tana Rabbi Abo Kamei de Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Abo said in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Kol hamekalkelim peturim chutz mechav lo mavir. All destructive malacha is going to be prohibited. It's going to be exempt, even though it's prohibited. It's going to be exempt from a chatas offering because it was destructive. It wasn't constructive. Besides for two of them that are listed in the 39 malachos are actually by nature destructive, and there's no benefit from the outcome, and therefore it's going to be malacha, a transgression, even if it's done in the destructive way. Which two? Kollel, injuring someone, and mavir, igniting a fire. Igniting a fire essentially is destructive. Injuring someone is destructive. And yet, it's listed in the 39 malachas, so therefore it would be chayiv even though it's destructive. Amalei. So Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Abo, walk out of here and teach that elsewhere. Don't teach that here. Puk tani levra. Go teach that elsewhere. Chovel u'mavir ein a mishnah, because what you're saying that chovel u'mavir, somebody injuring someone else on Shabbos and somebody igniting a fire on Shabbos are even if it's destructive, that's not true. It has to be constructive, and all malachas of Shabbos are only if it's constructive. Mishnah. What about our Mishnah? The Mishnah that said the list of malachas and included somebody who injures someone else, that's talking about where he needs the blood. So somebody like bloodletting usually is not for the need of the blood, but rather for the bloodletting is to heal the person, but the blood is tossed. But if you're doing something with the blood, it actually would be constructive and therefore is chayiv. What's the case? So nowadays, it would be easy. If you need to test the blood, so then you need the blood. It's constructive removing the blood because you actually need to test the blood for an ailment or whatever it is. Somebody has diabetes, they need to check how much sugar it is. Somebody has another ailment, they need to check what's going on. So that would be a constructive removal of blood. But in those days, what could be constructive? So the Gemara says he needs to feed his dog blood, and so he's removing blood from the person for that purpose. So, mavir, and what's the case of igniting a fire where there's value in the product being created by burning the blood, by burning the fire? But tzarich la'afro, he needs ash. He's making soap or whatever it is. He needs ash, and so that's why he's burning it. The Gemara says, "V'nantana kol ha'mekalkel turin." Well, we learned in our Mishnah that all items that are destructive are going to be exempt, and even by chovel u'maver, even where he ignites a fire, the kasha na'adadi, and so therefore it's going to be a contradiction. So how can you, Rabbi Abo, say that these two are going to be different, and even though he's destructive, he's going to have to bring a chatas offering? The Mishnah says all destructive acts are going to be exempt. The Gemara says Maslita Rabbi Yehuda, Raisa Rabbi Shimon. So there's going to be machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. So we know, we've seen this many times now. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't necessarily need the outcome of the malacha you're doing in order to transgress. It's malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. You don't need the outcome. Rabbi Shimon says no, you always need the outcome. Meaning, if I dig a hole and I need the dirt, I'm going to be exempt according to Rabbi Shimon because I didn't transgress the plowing. I don't need the hole in the ground, which is what I'm doing. But if I need the hole in the ground, meaning I'm tilling the ground to make the soil soft so I can put seeds in and so that it can grow easily, that is plowing. But if I'm making a hole in the ground because I need dirt somewhere else, even that is destructive to the ground here and doesn't count. And this is true for all malachas. Well, what about igniting a fire? Igniting a fire, you never, generally you don't need the outcome of the fire, you're destroying something. And yet the Torah obligated you, and the same by injuring someone. Usually when you injure someone, you don't need the outcome. What you need is the injury. Well, you don't need, but that's what you're trying to do. And therefore, the destructiveness is essentially a part of it. So that's why, even though Rabbi Shimon generally is more lenient on account of this thought, but these two, it forces him to be strict and say, even since I generally say that a malacha by definition has to be that the action you're doing, the result that you get is what you need. And that's never the case by igniting a fire, and that's never the case by injury. Therefore, by definition, we have to say that this malacha, even destructively, is going to be obligated. And how do I know that it actually is this way, that it's prohibited, even though that it's damaging? Because we see that the Torah has a special teaching to tell us, the Gemara in Yevamos, as a special drash to teach us that a bris on the 8th day can be done on Shabbos. Well, why wouldn't you be able to do it on Shabbos? After all, it's just an injury to the baby. No, but you see that even an injury, even where you're diminishing, you're taking something away, and you're injuring, nevertheless, it would be prohibited if not for it being a mitzvah. And the Torah says that this mitzvah supersedes Shabbos. Since I need a special pasuk to tell me that bris milah can be done on Shabbos, which tells us that generally injuring someone is going to be chayiv, is going to be a Torah prohibition. You have to bring a sin offering if you did it. And also, and since the Torah prohibited doing capital punishment of putting someone to death by heat, which was done by heating up lead and having them drink it. So the igniting the fire is prohibited, even though that it's destructive. So you see that igniting a fire in general is going to be prohibited. And that's why we needed a special teaching to tell you about this. Rabbi Yehuda Hasamasakin. Rabbi Yehuda says both of those are constructive. That's why he considers that constructive. Now, the general machlokas here is the distinction between the two opinions is that Rabbi Shimon says it has to be constructive in the act itself. And Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't have to be constructive in the act. It can have a secondary constructive need. Kid Ravashi, like Ravashi said, Amar Ravashi, Mali Latakin Mila, Mali Latakin Kli. What distinction is there between fixing a vessel, completing a vessel, doing something constructive in a vessel, or doing constructive to a human? By doing bris milah, you're doing the mitzvah and you're helping them fulfill the mitzvah, and that is constructive in and of itself. Similarly, Mali Levashel Psila, Mali Levashel Samamonim. What distinction is there between melting the lead, which is cooking, and melting and cooking some spices? So the machlokes here is in these two malachas, by igniting a fire and by chovel, injuring. Is there a need to be constructive, and we have to come up somehow with being constructive, or is this an exclusion from the general rule where we say if something's destructive, it doesn't count as a malacha? These two, by definition, are always destructive, or almost always destructive, and yet they're included in the list of 39 malachas. So we know that it has to be that even though it's destructive, it is a malacha. It counts as a prohibition. Shira Malabin. In the Mishnah, it said the measure for whitening wool or spinning wool. Or dyeing it, making it a certain color, or manapates, which is combing it, which we said double sit. Double sit was between the index finger and the middle finger. Rabbi Yosef showed kafuf, that it bent, and Rabbi Chia bar Ami machvi pashut. He showed them spread. So this double sit he showed between the two fingers, and Rav Ami actually showed it between the thumb and the index finger, which is larger. We're going to go to the next Mishnah, which is at the bottom of Kufa of Amid Aleph, 106a, and we're going to get into the malacha of trapping an animal. You have to understand some concepts here. We're going to see in the Gemara that trapping an animal generally means an animal that you want the animal you trap, because that is a malacha that you want the result of what you did. But if you're trying to trap something to keep it away from you, that would not be the malacha. That's what we'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi Meir disagrees with that and says even if you don't need it. But the rule for that is this type of thing generally trapped or not? Is it an item that is generally trapped? Then then it's included in trapping. But if most people don't mean to trap this, so then it's not included in it. So bees, beekeepers trap them, but wasps, nobody traps it. Even bees, it depends if you're in a place that people trap it, mina, in its kind. That's concept number one. Concept number two is what defines trapped? If I have a 10-acre fenced-in area and I have an animal in there, is that animal trapped? Of course not. It can run around there for days. If I have a 4x4, 4 foot by 4 foot cage, is an animal trapped? That'll depend. What kind of animal is it? Right? If you have a hamster, you may not be able to catch it even in that size. If you have a lion in there, yeah, that's trapped. So it's always it should seem that it would depend based on that. What about for a bird? What constitutes as trapped? So that's really what the Gemara is going to be talking about. Also, once an animal is in a confined area, there is no way of trapping it, even if you make it more trapped. That means you have a deer in a pen that it cannot get out of, and it's, let's say, a 10 by 10. You walk in there, you can catch the deer whenever you want. When you catch it, now you're holding it, it's even more trapped in your hands. That doesn't count as more trapped because it already was within reasonable access. So that's what we'll see in this mission. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Hatzad Tzipor Lamigdal. If you trap a bird into a chest, that counts as trapping it because then it is confined. Utzvi labayis, or a deer into a room, chayiv. Then you've transgressed trapping. The Chachamim say we agree in regards to a bird, tzipor lamigdal. Yes, a bird into a chest would count as trapped. However, and we're now on Kufav and base. On the second side, tzvi lagina ulachatza lebibrin. But a deer, you would have to trap it either into the room, like the first opinion, but even also if you get into a garden, to a courtyard, into a pen, all of these things would count because the deer is now in an enclosed enough place, as the Gemara is going to explain, that you can catch it in one swoop. Chayev. So then you transgress. Not every pen is the same size. Not every animal is the same size. Rather, it's a general rule. Muchusar tzeda pater. If it is lacking in trapping, meaning you didn't trap it in that area, it's still got plenty of room to run around. If it no longer needs any more trapping, you've trapped it in a space that's completely confined, then you're obligated. So again, it was free and you brought it into a space that now is confined, you're chayiv. But if you have a 10-acre pen, meaning it basically just a fenced-in area, and you bring an animal into there, you've not trapped it because even though you shut the gate behind it, you haven't really trapped it because even in that place, Mechusar Tzedi, you still have to hunt it down within your 10 acres because you're not going to be able to just catch it. And that's going to exempt you. Tanan Hasa. So the Gemara brings a brisa. Ein tzadim, so that's actually a Mishnah in regards to yantiv. You have fish, a yantiv, and you want to be able to catch the fish in your pond. It's basically a pond in your property, and so you want to catch a fish from there. So ein tzadin dagam en abibrim b'yantiv. You're not allowed to catch a fish from there. Ve'ein asof ne'emazonus, and you also can't feed them because it's not because they're not reliant on you on food, but rather because they are muktzah. Aval tzadin chayva oif, but you are allowed to catch a bird or an animal from your pen. When I say you feed them on yantiv. For a minute, we have a contradiction. The brisa that says you're not allowed to trap, you're not allowed to catch from your own pen, not only fish, but also not animals and birds. So that's a contradiction because the previous brises agreed with fish, but disagrees in regards to birds and animals. You're not allowed to feed them. So kasha chaya chaya kasha oifus. So we have a contradiction in regards to birds, and we have a contradiction in regards to animals. So the Gemara says like this: Bishlam chaya chaya kasha. For animals, it's not a contradiction. Ha Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan. And like in our Mishnah, we have Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan who say that for animals, there's a distinction whether you have to bring it into your house in order to count as trapping. So your pen is not yet trapped. So if you go out there and you bring it from your pen into your house to shecht it, you've trapped it. Whereas the Chachamim say it's already in a pen. Your pen counts as trapped. Therefore, you're not allowed to take it from the wild into your pen. But once it's in your pen before Yantif, then it's already accessible to you. It's already trapped. Elo efes efes kasha. But what about birds? There we have a contradiction. What are you going to say about that? If you're going to tell me the distinction is whether the cage, the pen that this bird is in, has a netting on the top, a roof, or not. Say if it has a roof, then it's already trapped. If not, they can fly away. It's not true because we saw that a house does not work for a bird. It has to be in a chest. But if it's in your house, it's not going to count as trapped. Why? Because it can fly around the house. It can even escape through a window. That you only counts as trapping a bird if you put it into a chest, but not in your house, not in your room. And you know why a bird doesn't count? We're talking about a bird that is not a domesticated bird. It's a bird that's always trying to fly away. It's freedom bird. Because it doesn't want to count, it doesn't want to fly to you and be trapped. But there are other birds, say a parakeet, and you put out your finger, it'll jump onto it and it'll fly to you. So therefore, that counts as trapped already in your house, and there's no problem of putting it into a chest, into its cage on Shabbos, because it's already trapped. Because it accepts you as its person and someone who's taking care of it. Whereas if you had a bird that's a free bird, you had, let's say, a raven or something like that, it's going to fly away. You can't trap it just that way. The Tanavei Rishma, Lamenek Rishma Tzuro, Itzipra Dro, why is it called a free bird? In a house and in the field is exactly the same. It's free either way. It'll fly around and won't accept you as taking care of it. So the Gemara says, now that we've already come to this explanation that we're saying that it can all fit according to the Rabbanan, well, then we're going to say this as well. We're not going to have to say that by an animal it depends on the size of the place that it is, which was machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan, who said whether it has to be indoors or it has to be even in a pen. Even according to the Rabbanan, we're going to have an answer, and we're going to say that the distinction between the Brisa and our Mishnah is dependent on the size of the pen. If it's a large pen, meaning it's an open field where you can't catch the animal in there, so then it's not trapped, and therefore on Yantif you can't bring the food, you can't bring it in and shecht it as food. Whereas if it's a smaller, narrower pen, where once you walk in you can essentially catch the animal, therefore it counts as already trapped even before Yantif. It depends whether it's a large pen or a small one. So what counts as a large pen and therefore it's not considered trapped in there? And what's considered what's small enough that it counts as it is trapped? Amar Ravashi. So Ravashi says, if you can chase it and catch it in one shichya. Rashi learns one shichya is one swoop. The one time that you go down to get it, you'll be able to catch it. You can catch it in one swoop. Other Rishonim, and this is the way that it's brought in the Shulchan Aruch, it learns that they learn that it means that you can chase it and you can catch it before you get too tired and need a break. Either way, that's how small this pen is. But if it's large enough that the animal can get away and you won't be able to catch it, so then it's, even though that it's in an enclosure, but it is essentially free in that enclosure. And when you catch it, you are trapping on Shabbos. But if it's in an enclosure that you can catch the animal in one try, whether it's one swoop or one chase, it's going to count as already trapped prior to Shabbos or prior to Yom Tov, and therefore you're allowed to continue to even trap it even more. Biber cotton, if you can catch it at once, that's a small enclosure. Bidach, biber gadol, if you can't catch it in one try, it's going to be considered a large pen, and that's really dependent on the animal. It could be, with a rabbit, a small pen would also be too large. Whereas if you're talking about, say, a sheep, which is easy to catch, so then even a larger pen and larger enclosure would also count as a properly trapped prior to Shabbos. Inami, another explanation as to what's considered too big or too small, or small enough that it counts as trapped prior. If the shade, the shadow from the sun of one wall will fall on the other, meaning there really is not going to be much sunshine in the center of that pen, then it counts as a small pen. But again, the difficulty on that is how tall are the walls, how big is the animal. V'idach biber gadol. Anything more than that is going to be a large pen. Inami, another explanation. As long as there are no crevices and corners where the animal can hide out and escape. Not escape from the pen, but get away from you when you're trying to catch it. Biber cotton. If there's no corners that it can hide in, that's a small pen. If there are areas that it can hide in, that's biber cotton. So we saw in our Mishnah the opinions between Rabbi Yehuda, who says in order to trap an animal, it has to be that you brought it into a room, and therefore if it's out in a pen and you bring it in the room, you transgress. But if you take it from the field into a pen, it does not count as trapping, because even in the pen, it's still got room to get around. The Chachamim say no. As long as you brought it into a pen, into an enclosure, enough that you can catch it when you need to, in one try, that counts as already trapped. And therefore, if you're taking it from your pen into an even smaller enclosure, it's not going to be a problem because it already was trapped prior to Shabbos. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it depends on the animal, depends on the size of the pen. Each pen is different. So Gemara explains. Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, and name of Shmuel, Allah Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. The Allah is like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Now, as we just explained, the Chachamim are saying exactly the same thing. They're also saying that it depends on the size of the pen and the size of the animal. From the fact you say halacha, you're implying that this is a matter of machlokes. No, it doesn't have to be that it's a machlokes. I'm just saying that is the correct halacha. Amalei said, if that's the case, Gemara Zamortate, you're teaching a halacha just so that it can be a song. In other words, it has to have a purpose in halacha if you say that it's halacha. If they're not disagreeing about that, and it all depends on the size, everybody agrees to that. So then it's no need to say that it's the halacha. Tana Rabban, Hatzad Tzvi Suma v'Yashem Chayim. If you trap a blind or sleeping animal, a deer, which are hard to catch, and this one happens to be sleeping and you catch it, or happens to be blind and you catch it, that counts as trapping. Why? Because as soon as it notices, it would run away, and so you trapped something that's trying to escape, so that's trapping on Shabbos. However, chiger v'zaken, but if it's a limping deer, or it's an old deer, it just simply can't run away, so then it's already trapped just by being near you. Even though that it's not in an enclosure, since it can't escape from where you are and walked into your space, that is considered a trapped animal, and you would be exempt for trapping it. What distinction is there between the two? This one's sleeping, this one's limping. What's the difference? So he says, Hani avidi l'rebuye. These are going to try and run away if they could. Hani avidi l'rebuye. These are not going to try and run away even if they could, because they just simply can't. But we see a sick animal. If you trap it, you are chayiv. So the Gemara says it depends what it's sick with. It depends whether it is sick with a fever, so what? It'll still try and run away. Is it sick on account of it is tired, it's dried out, and whatever? So there, it's actually just doesn't have the strength to run. Rabbi Meir says whether you're trapping grasshoppers, crickets, flies, bees, mosquitoes, anything you're trapping on Shabbos, you transgress trapping a flying insect. The Chacham says no, it depends. If it's a type of thing that people trap, so grasshoppers because people eat it, so fine. So then trapping it is going to be chayiv. Bees is something that people make honey from. So if it's a honeybee, so then it's something that gets trapped. So fine. So you're chayiv for trapping it because it's a kind of thing that you trap. But anything that is not the type of thing that people typically trap, you're going to be exempt because it's not a type of thing that gets that it's not a trappable animal. Not because it can't be trapped, but because it's not something made for trapping. Tanya Idach, we have another brisa. Hatzad chagavim b'shas atal pater. If somebody traps a grasshopper when there's dew on the ground, so that seems to keep them still. They don't jump around, they don't move when that water is on them, whether it blinds them or makes it hard for them to fly, whatever it is, they are stationary, and so that it's easy to trap. So there, you're going to be exempt because you didn't trap something that's trying to get away. However, b'shas hashrav, if it is dry out, so it's hot and dry, so that's when they're flying all over the place. So you're chayiv for trapping it because you've trapped something that is trying to get away and is hard to trap, and it's not within your possession. Elazar ben Mahavai adds to this. If there's a plague of them coming, it's like a swarm of grasshoppers coming, where again that's easy to trap. So that's when you're gonna be exempt. You're gonna be exempt. So the Gemara asks, is he talking about the first point where we said that in dew, when they're not flying around, then you're going to be exempt, and he's saying only if they're in a swarm, or is he speaking in the second case where it says that even in the hot weather, you're going to be obligated, and to that he says, but if they come in a swarm where it's easy to catch them, so then it's going to be exempt. So come in here. The Brisa says explicitly, Hatzad chagavim b'shas atal. Somebody who traps grasshoppers when there's dew out, so it's wet, and so it's not flying around. Pati, you're going to be exempt. B'shas hashrav, if it's hot out, chayiv, because it's flying around, so you have to bring a sin offering for trapping, which is prohibited on Shabbos. However, Elazar ben Bai adds and says this: Afilu b'shas hashrav, even though that it is hot out and it's flying all over the place, if they're coming in a swarm and there are thousands of them, and so all you have to do is pick up your hand, close it, and you're going to catch one in your hand, so then you're going to be exempt because it's right there for you. Anyway, Pati is going to be exempt because it's right there for you, even though technically this one that I happened to catch wasn't there beforehand. But since there's so many around, if I close my hand, I'm for sure going to catch. I take a net out and I catch, I'm for sure going to catch because there's so many swarming that counts as exemption. That it's already accessible according to Elazar ben Mabai. We'll do a 3-line Mishnah Gemara. A deer walks into your room, and you close the door, and you trapped it. Voila, and we're going to have venison for dinner next week. You're chayiv because you trapped it. You transgressed. But if 2 people close the door, you're going to be exempt. And this we saw earlier. Shnayim shas and Peturim. 2 people did it. Malacha are going to be exempt, unless you could not do it alone. You needed the other. If one alone could not close the door, it's a big heavy door, and they did it together, they're both going to be obligated. And Rabbi Shimon exempts for this, like we saw earlier. Rabbi Shimon exempts for a malacha that's done together. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Mashmuel Hatzad Ari b'Shabbos. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba said in the name of Shmuel, somebody catches a lion on Shabbos. So even if you're the trainer and you grab it by its collar and you catch the lion, it can still get away. And therefore you're going to be, it doesn't count as trapped until you bring it into the cage. And therefore, if you bring it into the cage, you're chayav because you trapped the animal by putting it into a cage, the lion by putting it in the cage, even though it was in your hand beforehand. But it can get out at any point. And you bring it into its cage. Shavua Tov, good night, and we'll see you early tomorrow morning.
Shavua Tov, good night. See you early. Bye-bye.
See you in the morning.